Well, three members of a Putaruru family could be permanently paralysed after eating what may have been contaminated wild boar. Shibu Kochiman, his wife Subi Babu and his mother Alakati Daniel remain in a serious condition in Waikato Hospital after eating the boar, which Mr Kochiman had hunted for dinner last Friday night. The couple's 7- and 1-year-old daughters are being cared for by members of their Hamilton church while they fundraise to bring family members from India. Toxicology results are due tomorrow. Church members say the 7-year-old daughter has told them she and her sister were in bed when her parents and grandmother fell ill and called for an ambulance. One of those rallying around the family is church member Joji Varghese. I spoke with him this afternoon just after he'd visited the family in hospital and asked him to tell me what he knew.
Shibu is in the habit of, accompanying his friends on hunting trips. And he's done it many times. And this was a very normal situation. He's gone hunting with his friends. They hunted some wild boar. From what I understand, they consumed that boar on Friday for dinner after they had put the kids to bed. So the kids had not had any of this meat. Within about half an hour, they started to throw up. About 15 minutes later, Shibu rang the emergency services number. I'm not very sure who he spoke to. Was it the police or the ambulance? However, he fainted halfway through the conversation. And I'm also not sure who got there first. Was it the police or the ambulance? I do not know, but they found 3 unconscious adults, from what I understand, and 2 sleeping children. They were then taken to a Putaruru hospital and transferred to Waikato hospital later on. Now, go on. Sorry.
What state have they been in since then?
They have been in, it's best described as a vegetative state. So they do open their eyes. We can call it technically conscious, but they are unresponsive to any form of stimulus.
And have the doctors told you what could have caused this?
Now, this is the tricky part, because it is a process of elimination. The children have basically consumed everything else in whatever else they have consumed, with the exception of the wild boars. So by a process of elimination, the doctors think it is definitely some sort of poisoning within the boar itself. So maybe the boars consumed poison before it was shot down, and whatever was in its blood has found its way into theirs. Otherwise, without a proper toxicology report, they are not able to answer that question. The toxicology report is expected tomorrow. So once that comes through, a proper treatment plan will be put in place.
And Joji, I'm not sure if you've spoken to the doctors or to anyone who has. Is there any sense of how their recovery might be, how likely they are to recover well and how long that might take?
Well, I have been told that this will leave some form of permanent damage. What form, we do not know. It could be partial paralysis, it could be tremors. It will depend on how well they respond to the treatment. Different people respond to treatments in different ways depending on their general health. But to find that out, we must first know what's actually in their system. Only then can a treatment be put in place. So at this stage, we're all awaiting that toxicology report, which is perhaps the most important player in this game.
Yeah, and is there any chance that the boar was shared with other people before they ate it?
We do not know that, so I'm not taking any guesses on it. I haven't heard. I'm going to take it as a no, but don't quote me on that. I do not know.
How are the children holding up?
Yes, they have 2 daughters aged 7 and 1. The first daughter, the younger one, is lactose intolerant, so she was being exclusively breastfed. Suddenly taking her off it is not doing her any good, so she's a bit touchy, but she's formed a bond with one of the church members, so I guess that's a good sign. The elder one, unfortunately, knows that her parents are hospitalized. Though she is with one of our church members, they have a job to do as well, and so we take turns in looking after the children. So unfortunately, they see a different face every 6 hours or so. That's not a very settling feeling. So at the moment, we are actively working with the Indian High Commission, who are they're really helpful. They've come on board with this. We're trying to get their immediate family over from India. That should happen in the next 3 or 4 days, and we can transfer the care of the children to them, so they see one face a day in and day out, and I'm hoping that'll make them feel more settled.
Yeah, so they don't have immediate family here in New Zealand?
No, none whatsoever.
Yeah, and so what needs to happen to get them here as fast as possible?
Well, they will need visas, visit visas. I've been informed by the Indian High Commission today to ask them to put in their application, and once that application is put in, which will happen today, they will fast track it. I mean, this thing can happen overnight if need be.
So you're doing some fundraising for Mrs. Daniels, the grandmother in all of this. You know, why are you doing that?
Well, Mrs. Daniels is here on a visitor's visa, and a part of that process of applying for a visitor's visa is they will need the sponsor to pick up any medical costs that are associated. She was obviously ticked that box, but she does not have any medical insurance. And so this hospital bill is going to spiral out of control, especially because the estimated recovery time is somewhere between 4 to 6 months. That's part of the reason why we're doing this fundraising. The other part is when their immediate family does come over from India, they will need a place to stay. There'll be costs associated around just daily life. The children will be with them, so there'll be costs associated with that. Like I said, our initial plan was to send the children back home to their grandparents, but if they're going to continue here for 6 months, I expect the elder child to be bored out of her skin if she just stays at home doing nothing. She was attending school in Putaruru before this, so we'll have to find her admission to some school here in Hamilton, give her something to do, keep her occupied while all of this is happening.
Yeah, and have you been able to visit them at all, Joji?
Yeah, I was there today as well. I visited them in most days. In fact, I was there a couple of hours back.
And how are they doing today?
It's pretty much the same, say, other than involuntary random movements. Doctors have said, no, it's pretty much the same.